You know the scene. Someone comes at you fast with conclusions about you that do not match your reality. They raise their voice, stack accusations, demand an instant response. Your chest tightens. Your jaw prepares a defense. You hear yourself rehearsing lines in your head while another part of you goes quiet. You say nothing. The moment passes and the room cools, but inside you replay it for hours. You call yourself weak for staying silent. You imagine what you should have said. You punish yourself for not proving your innocence on command. There is a special kind of exhaustion that follows these moments. You did not shout. You did not explain. You did not win the argument. It looks like nothing from the outside, and it feels like collapse on the inside. Your body hums with unfinished energy. Your throat stays tight. Your stomach knots. Later, when you try to sleep, the speech you did not give returns in perfect sentences that arrive too late. Shame creeps in and names you a coward. You start to believe that silence equals failure, that only words can restore your dignity. To be honest, you learn that speaking keeps you safe. In many homes, silence meant danger. Silence meant the room could turn suddenly and you would not see it coming. So you became quick with explanations, quick with apologies, quick with proof. You managed other people's feelings with your words because it worked. It kept the peace. It earned you points. It gave you a sense that control was possible. Now that reflex runs your mouth even when the truth is that no amount of talking will land with the person in front of you. There are people and situations where your words do not stand a chance, not because your words lack truth, but because the dynamic is built to twist them. You speak and they turn your sentence into a weapon. You offer context and they call it an excuse. You share how you feel and they label it an attack. Every attempt to clarify becomes more material for the trap. You leave the exchange drained and more confused than before. You did everything adults say to do. You communicated. You stayed calm. You tried to be fair. Somehow you became the villain in a story you did not write. You also know the quieter version of the same pain. The team meeting where a colleague misrepresents your work and you feel your face heat while your mouth goes dry. The family dinner where an old story about you is told like a joke and you feel your spine pull inward. The message thread where your character is questioned and you start typing a long reply you will regret. You pause. You delete the words. You go silent. Then the self-attack begins. You should have defended yourself. You should have taught them how to treat you. You should have said something strong and final. Here's the part the world rarely explains. Not all silence is the same. There is silence that comes from collapse, from old fear freezing your voice and shrinking your body. That silence hurts. There is also silence that comes from presence, from knowing that your energy is not on the market and your truth does not require a courtroom. From the outside, both look similar. Inside, they could not be more different. One empties you, the other concentrates you. The culture tells you that loudness is power, that the one who speaks last wins, that the one who explains best owns the room. It is a convincing story because it flatters the part of you that wants to be seen as good and right. It also keeps you on a leash. If your dignity depends on convincing someone who has no interest in being convinced, your dignity lives in their hands. They control the stage. They set the terms. You spend your life auditioning for a role you never wanted. You are not weak for choosing silence when your body knows that words will be used against you. You are not weak for stepping out of a game that was designed to keep you spinning. You are not weak for deciding that your peace is more valuable than winning a point in a conversation that cannot be won. What you feel as emptiness after these moments is often the raw space that appears when you stop feeding a pattern. It feels unfamiliar because you have practiced over-explaining for years. It feels wrong because your nervous system equated speed, sound, and certainty with safety. There is another way to understand what happened. Your silence protected something important. It protected your time. It protected your energy. It protected your right to respond when you are actually present rather than cornered. It protected your boundary when speaking would have blurted. It protected your truth from becoming material for someone else's performance. It did not fix the relationship. It did not make the room fair. It did something simpler and more radical. It kept you from abandoning yourself to manage a reality that refuses to meet you in good faith. I am not here to clap for avoidance. You know the difference between hiding and choosing. Hiding smells like fear and leaves you smaller. Choosing feels steady in your spine, even if your hands shake. Hiding keeps secrets because it assumes exposure equals harm. Choosing tells the truth when the space is safe enough to hold it. Hiding leaves you resentful and hungry for a fight that never ends. Choosing leaves you clear and available for what actually matters. Only you can feel that difference from the inside. You have been taught to measure your strength by your ability to argue well and recover fast. That metric ignores the part of you that is tired of being bait. That metric ignores the wisdom in the pause. There is a dignity in letting an accusation fall to the floor without chasing it. There is a strength in holding your body still while another person performs their storm and discovering that you do not dissolve. There is a kind of power that does not depend on the other person understanding you in this moment. It depends on you understanding yourself enough to stop spending your life in rooms where understanding is not the goal. By the end of this video, you will understand why your silence can be a gift and not a defeat. You will see how what felt like nothing was in fact the first act of taking your life back. Stay with me. Do not rush to prove anything. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders drop the weight of being right. There is a form of silence that is not absence. It is concentration. It is a boundary. It is the sound of you choosing yourself. You were taught that strong people always speak up. Teachers told you to use your words. Books told you to communicate better. Therapists told you to express your needs clearly. You tried. You explained until your throat hurt. You practiced scripts in calm tones. You delivered full context in tidy paragraphs. The result often looked the same. More arguing, more distortion, more fatigue. Not because speaking is wrong, but because speaking into a bad faith field feeds the field. You were taught that the right sentence can save a relationship. If you find the magic phrasing, the other person will finally understand. You went hunting for perfect words like a key to a locked door. The hidden mechanism is simple and brutal. Some doors are not locked. They are painted on a wall. You throw yourself at them and call the bruises communication issues. The issue is not your vocabulary. The issue is a dynamic that rewards your effort with more confusion. You were taught that silence equals guilt, that a fast reply proves innocence, that only a coward pauses. This training burrowed into your nervous system. Your body now surges with urgency the moment you are accused or misread. You respond to the alarm rather than the event. The more you rush to clear your name, the more material you hand to someone who thrives on keeping you on defense. Your speed becomes their leverage. You were taught that positive thinking fixes conflict, so you tried to reframe and to see the best in people who keep moving the goalposts. You told yourself that if you stay calm and kind, the storm will pass. The storm learned that it can rain on you forever because you keep bringing an umbrella and calling it love. To be honest, optimism without boundaries becomes self-abandonment in a polite outfit. You were taught that more therapy sessions and more communication books guarantee better outcomes. Many help when both people show up in good faith. Many fail when the real problem is power. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Techniques cannot fix a dynamic that depends on you explaining yourself while the other person collects your words like tools. You leave the room well-trained and less free. You learn skills for a game that was never meant to be fair. You were taught that silence is passive aggression. Sometimes it is. More often, silence is your last intact boundary when language has been turned into a maze. In hostile dynamics, everything you say becomes a new thread to pull. Silence starves the loop. Silence denies the performance and audience. Silence tells your own system that you will not trade your peace for a debate that exists only to keep you spun up. You were taught that closure comes from talking it out. Real closure often comes from stepping out. The hidden mechanism is this. Many conflicts run on intermittent reinforcement. You defend yourself for an hour, and at the end, you get a tiny crumb of relief. Your brain pairs that crumb with the fight and keeps you coming back for more. Silence breaks that conditioning. It feels wrong at first because your body's addicted to the chase. You were taught that your value lives in being understood. That is the most expensive lie. Your value lives in your stance, not in their interpretation. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words because it sounds unsentimental. Your dignity does not require a unanimous vote. Your dignity requires you to stop arguing for your soul at markets that sell attention rather than truth. You were taught that strong people have the perfect comeback. Strong people have a steady spine. In many rooms, the sentence that saves you is no sentence at all. The sentence you needed to hear is the one you tell yourself inside. I do not audition. I do not explain under pressure. I will speak when my body is settled and the space is safe enough for truth to land. Anything less turns you into fuel for someone else's pattern. This might sound harsh, but your urge to over-explain is not maturity. It is an old survival rule polished to look like virtue. It kept you safe once. It keeps you trapped now. The mechanism is consistent. You try to win fairness with effort. The other side tries to win control with chaos. Your words become rope. Their tactics tighten the rope. Your silence drops it. But there is something even scarier, and we will get to that. The silence you need is not the freeze that empties you. The silence you need is the pause that returns you to yourself. Until you can feel that difference, every confrontation becomes a drain, and every explanation becomes a leash. To be honest, when you finally feel the pull to stop defending your soul and let your silence speak, a steadiness arrives in your chest and the urge to argue drops. If these words resonate, subscribe to the channel. More people need to hear the truth they're being denied. To be honest, the mind that crafts arguments is only a thin layer over a deeper engine that keeps you alive. Depth psychology calls that engine the unconscious. It stores conclusions your body reached long before you had language. If safety depended on explaining yourself to a volatile parent, your system linked survival to rapid speech. If survival required quiet obedience, your system linked safety to silence that erases you. Later, in adult rooms, the same programs run. You either talk until you vanish or you vanish without talking. Neither path protects your dignity. The work is to meet the engine and retune it. The shadow is not a villain. The shadow is unlived life. In this topic, the shadow often contains your unspoken no, your right to disengage, your right to hold a line without a speech. When those parts were punished in childhood, they went underground. In their place, a bright persona formed that looks cooperative, articulate, reasonable, endlessly available for dialogue. You become the person who provides context for everyone. You become a translator for feelings that are not yours to carry. The price is heavy. Your words grow cheaper to you because you spend them where truth cannot land. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Many conflicts are not fights over facts. They are nervous systems trying to regulate through control. One system escalates to feel powerful. The other system explains to feel safe. The more you explain, the more the other system feels in charge. The more they feel in charge, the more they escalate. A loop forms. Silence, when chosen from presence, is not withdrawal. Silence is a break in the loop. Silence denies the other system the fuel it expects and returns your energy to you. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words. Your mouth is often doing the job your spine was meant to do. Words rush in to build a wall where a boundary should stand. When your boundary is embodied, the sentence becomes simple or unnecessary. The body carries the message. Your breath is steady. Your gaze is warm and firm. Your shoulders are not pleating forward. Your stance says that you will not be rushed and you will not be baited. You may say very little or nothing at all. The message arrives anyway. In Jung's language, a complex is a cluster of memory, emotion, and bodily response that forms around a theme: abandonment, criticism, control. When the cue appears, the complex takes the wheel. Silence inside a complex is a freeze. Speech inside a complex is an appease. Both are strategies to avoid a pain that already happened. Neither is a free choice. Conscious silence begins when you notice the complex rising and anchor in the present body. You feel your feet. You let an exhale lengthen. You allow the heat in your face without needing to cool it with words. You let the urge to defend surge and pass like weather. Then you choose: speak or do not speak. Either can carry power when the choice is yours. Archetypes help here. The warrior speaks when action is needed and rests the tongue when speaking would weaken position. The sage allows silence to reveal where truth stands on its own. The sovereign does not chase approval because authority is an inner stance, not a public vote. When the trickster appears in the other person, twisting words and shifting rules, your silence is not surrender. Your silence is refusal to play a rigged game. There is also the balance of inner masculine and inner feminine. These are not genders. These are organizing energies. The inner masculine sets direction, structure, and clean boundaries. The inner feminine brings presence, receptivity, and deep listening. When the inner feminine is exiled, you talk over your own body in the name of being understood. When the inner masculine is exiled, you feel everything and hold nothing. Empowered silence is the moment these two work together. Presence senses that a space is unsafe for truth to land. Structure declares that the conversation will pause or end. You stay open enough to feel and firm enough to hold the line. Family scripts often write your public behavior. Some homes reward the child who mediates every conflict. Some reward the child who never contradicts. Some punish the child who stops the performance. These early contracts live on as reflexes. You over-explain at work because explaining kept a parent from exploding. You answer instantly to every accusation because answering instantly once prevented a punishment. Your adult life pays the bill for a contract you never knew you signed. Conscious silence is how you renegotiate. You let the alarm ring, and you do not sprint toward it with words. You hold still until the old contract loosens its grip. This might sound harsh, but many people confuse being understood with being safe. That confusion keeps them in endless debates with those who benefit from the confusion. Safety is a body state. Safety is the knowledge that you can pause, you can leave, you can say no, you can wait until you are ready. When you reclaim these options, your silence stops feeling like suffocation and starts feeling like oxygen. Not everyone is ready to hear this. The first minutes of empowered silence feel worse than talking. Your nervous system expects the relief of the familiar performance. When you do not perform, your body rings with unfinished energy. That is not failure. That is thaw. If you stay with it, the energy discharges without a speech. You discover that the world did not end when you stopped explaining. You discover that the accusation collapsed under its own weight when it did not receive your breath. Freud described repetition compulsion, the pull to reenact old scenes in new rooms. The tongue can be a tool of repetition. You keep talking to try to rewrite an ending that belongs to childhood. Jung added the task of integration, the return of exiled parts. Your silent no is often one of those parts. It is the animal in you that knows when to disengage. It is the elder in you that knows when a response would cheapen the truth. It is the parent in you that protects the child from rooms that do not honor their reality. There is a physiological story as well. The body tracks cues of safety and danger beneath awareness. A tone of voice, a posture, a familiar smirk. Your heart rate changes, your breath shallows, Your field of vision narrows. If you speak from that state, you speak from survival. The content may be elegant. The signal says panic. Someone skilled at power games hears the signal and pushes harder. When you ground first and then choose silence, the signal changes. The game loses oxygen. The other person must reveal their real aim or the scene ends. Here is what they do not tell their patients. Silence is not only absence of words. Silence is an action that rearranges the field. It is a refusal to supply attention to a pattern that feeds on attention. It is a statement that your time is not a public resource. It is a boundary that does not require the other side to agree. It keeps the sacred parts of your life out of courts that do not deserve jurisdiction. Most psychologists will not tell you that integrity sometimes looks like walking away mid-sentence. Integrity sometimes looks like replying tomorrow instead of tonight. Integrity sometimes looks like no reply at all when the request is disguised coercion. The mind hates this because the mind wants resolution now. The body knows that delayed engagement can be the difference between truth and another round of performance. Your silence can also carry care. Silence is not punishment when it is paired with honesty. You can say that you will speak when your body is settled. You can say that the conversation will continue only with mutual respect. You can say that accusations will not receive fuel. Then you keep your word. Over time, the people who can meet you will rise to that level. The people who cannot will reveal themselves without you lifting a finger. And here comes the most painful truth. The moment you practice empowered silence, some relationships will thin or end because they relied on your words to hold together what honesty would dissolve. This is the part where silence becomes a living skill rather than a desperate last resort. No hacks, no performance. Only practices that teach your body to hold itself while your mouth rests. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words. Words do not regulate the system. Contact does. When contact arrives, your silence stops feeling like suffocation and starts feeling like oxygen. Begin with orientation. Let your eyes move slowly around the room until they find something ordinary that feels friendly. A window, a cup, a plant. Let your exhale be a little longer than your inhale. Feel the weight of your feet. Name the sensations that are already here in simple terms. Warm, tight, heavy, buzzing. You are telling your system that the threat is not everywhere and that you do not need to buy safety with speed. Practice the pause when nothing dramatic is happening. Choose low-stakes moments. Someone asks for your opinion. Wait a few breaths before you speak. Keep your gaze soft and your chest open. Feel the urge to fill the space and let it pass through without grabbing it. You are building proof that space can exist between stimulus and action without the world collapsing. Create a personal response policy you can live with. No replies while the body feels hot or hollow. No defending yourself on demand. No long explanations in message threads. Speak only when your spine feels steady and your breath is available. If you need words, keep them short and firm. I will respond when my body is settled. This conversation will pause until we can be respectful. I am not available for accusations. I do not explain under pressure. The sentences are simple on purpose. Simplicity holds. Train posture as a boundary. Stand with your weight in your feet, knees soft, crown of the head lifted, jaw loose. Imagine a line from the back of your heart to the back wall. This is the stance of a person who can stay or go and will decide from choice. Your body will want to collapse forward when baited. Catch the collapse and return to the stance. The message carries without a speech. Reclaim the silent number. Place a hand on the center of your chest and breathe until you feel a small wave of warmth or weight. On the exhale, let your mouth stay closed while you think the word no and feel your feet press the ground. Then open your eyes and continue doing whatever you are doing. You are teaching your system that no begins in the body before it travels to the tongue. Disentangle silence from freeze. When you choose not to speak, move something gently. Roll your shoulders. Press your toes into the floor. Let your eyes track a slow arc on the wall. The movement is small and deliberate. It tells your nervous system that you are not trapped and that silence is an action, not a shutdown. Expect the alarm and ride it without paying it with words. When you are accused, your body will surge. Heat in the face, tightness in the throat. The old reflex screams for a perfect sentence. Let the surge peak and fall while you breathe and feel your feet. The wave passes, you are still here. The accusation now has to stand on its own without your breath, keeping it alive. Stop feeding intermittent reinforcement. After a hard exchange, do not reach for a crumb of relief by sending one more message. Step away, shake your hands, walk a slow lap around the room, drink water, place your back against a wall, and breathe until your shoulders release a notch. Relief earned through the body lasts longer than relief borrowed from another round of debate. Use silence with honesty, not as punishment. Say that you are pausing the conversation. Say that you will revisit it at a time you choose. Say that certain topics are closed for now. Keep your word. Consistent boundaries teach your system in the relationship that your time and attention are not on the market. Map the scenes where you overspend words. Write down the situations that pull you into explaining. Authority figures, late-night messages, family stories that never die. For each one, write the cost you pay and the boundary you will practice. I will not litigate my character by text. I will not revisit that story. I will speak tomorrow, not tonight. This page is your contract with yourself. Give anger a channel so it does not hijack your mouth. Press your palms into a wall with steady pressure while breathing out. Push the floor away with your feet as if you are drawing a line under your body. Let your jaw loosen on the exhale. When your body feels your boundary, your words do not need to prove it. Tend the grief that silence uncovers. Sometimes the quiet after you refuse the bait reveals old loneliness. Sit with it without turning it into a speech. Put on a song that matches the weight. Let your breath be audible. Let your body curl and uncurl as it wants. Grief that moves makes space. Space makes silence feel like home rather than exile. Rehearse exits you rarely allowed yourself. You can say that you are ending the call now. You can stand and leave a room. You can step outside and return later. Integrity can look like walking away mid-sentence when the field is bad faith. The mind calls this rude. The body recognizes it as protection. Not everyone is ready to hear this. When you stop explaining, some relationships will thin because they were held together by your effort alone. That is painful and clean. Your clarity will attract people who can meet silence with respect and truth with care. You do not have to do this alone. We are building a place where reality is more valuable than performance. If you saw yourself in these words, write in the comments. Say the words exactly. I no longer run from pain. Let's see how many are ready for the truth. If you feel it's time to meet your shadow, write, my darkness is my strength. Let's build a community of those unafraid to look within. To be honest, silence is not the absence of power. Silence is power held in one place. It is the moment you stop spending your life proving what is already true and start living from it. The urge to explain will rise like heat. The old reflex will reach for a sentence that saves the day. You will feel the pull to earn your dignity with perfect words. You do not need to audition. You do not need to perform your innocence. Your stance says more than a speech when your stance is chosen. Strength here looks ordinary. You pause before replying. You breathe when bait appears. You step out when the field is bad faith. You come back to the conversation only when your body is steady and the space can hold respect. You let some accusations fall to the floor without chasing them. You stop offering your truth to courts that never intended to be fair. This is not coldness. This is self-respect that no longer depends on a unanimous vote. Most psychologists will not tell you this in plain words. Empowered silence will cost you the relationships that were built on your over-explaining. That cost is real. The reward is also real. You gain time. You gain clarity. You gain a spine that does not bend to every storm. People who can meet you will adjust or step closer. People who cannot will reveal themselves without you lifting a finger. The noise drops. Your life grows quieter and more honest. There will be grief. There will be mornings when your chest feels hollow because you did not send the message that would have brought a crumb of relief. Hold the line. Relief that comes from contact with your own body lasts longer than relief bought with another round of debate. Your silence will begin to feel less like exile and more like home. Your words will return straighter and fewer. Your presence will do the work your arguments used to attempt. Your silence does not erase your voice. Your silence makes your voice matter. You speak when it serves truth, not fear. You pause when speech would feed a pattern. You leave when staying would ask you to betray yourself. You align your body with your values and let your language follow. You become a person who can be misunderstood for a time without abandoning yourself to fix it. That is adult dignity. That is the end of the leash. You are not alone in this. There are many of us who got tired of paying with our breath for recognition that never comes. We meet here in honesty. We build a community where presence is louder than performance and where boundaries are a form of care. We let pain teach without turning it into a throne. We move slowly enough to keep the trust of our own nervous systems. We choose lives that fit even when they cost approval. If you saw yourself in these words, write in the comments, "I no longer run from pain." Let's see how many are ready for the truth. If you feel it's time to meet your shadow, write, "My darkness is my strength." Let's build a community of those unafraid to look within. If you're ready to drop the mask, write, "I take off the mask." Let's see who's ready for real life. If this video changed something in you, write, "I accept my shadow." Make it your vow to yourself. This is only the beginning.